junction in myasthenic gravis. Okay, that is the first part. Then the action potential is developed in the muscle. Now, inshallah, we are going to discuss the second part, muscle contraction 2. Okay, in which we shall discuss the muscle proteins, what are the regulatory proteins, okay, and what is the various bands, okay, and how these bands are changed during muscle contraction, okay, and excitation contraction coupling, inshallah. Okay. One by one. Before going for muscle contraction, you should know that I think you will be knowing that you are knowing that the what is the structure of muscle fiber. Again, I will in brief I will show you. We will going in depth of that. Skeletal muscles attached to the bone on each end by tendons that are called as tendons. Okay, and insertion is more movable attachment. Muscle moves at the site of insertion, not at the origin. Okay? And the pull toward the origin. What is origin? Origin of the muscle, that is the least movable part. That is attached constant. Okay? And the muscle tension on tendons. There is a tension is developed on the tendon of the muscle. Contracting muscle cause movement of bones at the various joints. Then what do you mean by the agonist muscle? You know what you mean by the agonist muscle? Agonist muscle is the same muscle that move, for example, flexors. Flexors are the agonist for the flexion. So they are nothing but prime mover of any certain muscle movement. Flexors, agonist. Antagonist, opposite. So on a joint, both muscles should be there, agonist and antagonist, for a function of a joint. So agonist muscle, flexors and extensors that act on the same joint to produce opposite action. Flexors, if they are acting agonist, then the extensors are antagonist. If extensors are acting as agonist, then flexors are antagonist. So both are acting on the same joint. Epimysium, I think you know that what the epimysium covering tendon connective tissue, and fascicle connective tissue extend into the body of the muscles, and that composed of various columns of muscle fibers. I show in the picture. Okay. And each fascicle surrounded by the perimysium. Each fascicle surrounded by the perimysium. Why these are striated appearance? Skeletal muscles. What is the cause for striation?
Due to appearance of light and
dark band. Yes, good. Appearance of light and dark band. So striations are produced by the alternating day and night bands, light and dark bands. The same thing I will explain in the diagram picture. You can see the periosteum is the outermost covering of the bone, then tendon. You can see the tendon. This is the muscle attached to the bone, and is the fascia, the covering over the muscle by the connective tissue is called as fascia. Skeletal muscle, you can see the epimysium, this covering is called as epimysium, and perimysium, this perimysium. These are called as fasciculus. This is each muscle fiber. Each muscle fiber they are in the group of that is called as fascicle, fasciculus. And the covering of these muscle fiber is called as endomysium. This is epimysium, perimysium, this is endomysium. Same here I will explain in the magnified view. This is the muscle fiber, this is the endomysium. You can see the sarcolemma. What is sarcolemma? Sarcolemma? Cell membrane, plasma membrane of the skeletal muscle. And sarcoplasm, cytoplasm of the muscle. These are the filaments. As I discussed in the last class also, motor unit is the when somatic neuron is activated, all the muscle fiber it innervate contract with all or none contraction. All or none contraction is supplied to a muscle fiber.
مدنوسة.
Embodiment मध्ये innervation ratio.
شباب.
Ratio of the muscle to nerve. Motor neuron to the muscle fiber is called as innervation ratio. How much muscle fiber separated with how much neuron, that is called as innervation ratio. For fine neural control, fine skillful movements, more motor unit should be activated. Fine skillful. If you are doing some painting or arting, okay, then that is a fine movement. So more motor unit should be activated. And what is the recruitment? The recruitment is nothing but the larger and larger motor units are activated to produce great strength. They are more on activation, more motor units. That is called as the recruitment. Same thing I am showing in the picture. Motor unit to each somatic neuron. You can see this somatic motor neuron together with all the muscle fibers to innervate. This is called as motor unit. Each muscle fiber receives a single axon terminal. This is the single axon terminal. Single axon terminal from a somatic neuron. Each axon can have collateral branches. Each axon have collateral branches. Collateral branches to innervate an equal number of fibers. So these are the collateral branches, and they should supply all the muscle fibers. All the muscle. So this is motor unit. For a muscle contraction, motor unit should be activated. Then what is the mechanism of contraction? Each myofibrils contain myofilaments, as shown in the picture. Each myofibril contains myofilaments. There are two types of filaments, thick filament and thin filament. I think they are discussed in the histology.
Yes.
Same thing, because this is very important for physiology also. Thick filament. In this thick filament, you can see the A band. A band is contains thick filament, primarily myosin. Thick filament means myosin. Thin means actin. Thin filament, that is I band. I band contains thin filament, primarily composed of actin. Other proteins are also there in thin filament. 3 proteins are there, but the majority is actin. Here only myosin. Troponin, troponin are 2 other proteins. Center of each I band there is a Z disc. You know Z disc, that is in the histology. So in between the 2 Z discs, what is that called as? Sarcomere. The structural and functional unit of the skeletal muscle. Same thing I am showing in this picture, because why I am showing this, in the muscle contraction there is sliding movements occurs. Sliding movements occur. You can see this is the Z disc. You can see this green color is the myosin, thick filament, and this is thin filament, actin. So here you can see the Z disc. Z disc is sarcomere, Z disc to Z disc. So this is sarcomere.
Doctor, A band contains thick filaments only or thick or?
Thick filament, muscle fiber contain thick filament and thin filament. Thick filament contain thick contain only myosin.
I said I band.
Thin,
I band.
A band.
It contains just
Myosin, thick myosin, and thin is I band.
محاضرة ذاك كاتب لي بند من الثنتين.
A band is A band.
أنا هذا سؤال.
So this is the M lines. M line produced by the protein filaments in the sarcomere. So this is M line is produced by protein filament in the sarcomere. So what is the function of this M line? It anchors myosin during contraction. It anchors this myosin hold myosin during the contraction. So this is the function of M line. Then you can see here this yellow line, yellow. This protein is called as titin. Titin. This titin is the elastic protein that runs through the M line to Z disc. M line to the Z disc. Here also M line to the Z disc. This is called as titin. And it contributes to elastic recoil of the muscle. When muscle goes under contraction, after some relaxation, it will come back, recoiling take place. Elastic recoiling of the muscle take place. It comes back to its original position. This is contributed by this titin. It contributes to the elastic recoil of the muscle. Thin filament, you know, 3 proteins. What are those 3 proteins? Actin, troponin, tropomyosin. Yes. Actin 2 proteins stand twisted around each other, contain active sites. I'll show in the picture. Then next protein is tropomyosin. This is the thin strand lying in actin groove that covers the active site. This lies in actin groove that covers active site. I'll show in the picture. That troponin, third protein is troponin attached to the actin and tropomyosin strands, has strong affinity for calcium. So in the skeletal muscle, calcium ion binds to which protein? Troponin.
Troponin C.
Yes, troponin C. 3 part of the troponin C. So it is more affinity towards calcium ions. Thick filament, you know that myosin. Thick filament composed of numerous of myosin protein. In the thick myosin, I will show in the picture that has a flexible head of the myosin. I think we are discussing the histology. Head that protrude outward at all around the filament except the center. It protrude out but not at the center. Head that binds the actin and ATPase.
You mean the myosin head by flexible heads that produce after?
Flexible.
You mean myosin head?
Myosin head, yes, only myosin head. Then again myosin heads attached to active sites on thin filament. You know that is attached to the active site of the actin. Myosin heads again contain ATPase, that is very important enzyme help in the muscle contraction. It produces energy. ATP is converted to ADP plus phosphate. That phosphate gives energy for muscle contraction and relaxation. You can see this blood disc, actin, myosin heads. These are the myosin heads. This is the resting sarcomere at the rest, not during contraction, before contraction. This is the cross-sectional myofibrils. This is cross-section. Here you can't understand properly, but here you can see this. Actin and myosin. This is the myosin head, and this is the actin and troponin, tropomyosin. All proteins are like this. Thin filament is thick filament. This is myosin head. The transverse section, this longitudinal section of the skeletal muscle is very important to understand the contraction. Okay, why it is important? Here you can see this. I have explained what is Z line and I band, the actin myosin are there. These are important. These blue color tubes, this is called as sarcoplasmic reticulum. This is very important because it stores calcium. This is very important. And here you can see this pink color tube. They are called as T-tubule system. Transverse tubule. They are transverse tubules. Okay? When the action potential reaches here, then calcium is released. So it opens at the sarcolemma, the cell membrane, opens at the sarcolemma. So another important thing is here, if you can see this 2Z disc, in the 2Z disc you can see 2 tubules. In one disc, one sarcomere. Okay? In one sarcomere, 2 T tubules. One sarcomere, 2 tubules. Okay? 2 tubules. So this T tubules in human skeletal muscle. Each sarcomere has two transverse tubules. T tubules or transverse tubules both are same. Okay, you can see two, and these two tubules running perpendicular to the muscle fiber. They are not parallel, but they are perpendicular to muscle fiber. The muscle fiber like this, they are running perpendicular. Perpendicular means opposite. Muscle is like this and tubes like this. This T tubule extends through fiber and have opening at the sarcolemma along communication with the plasma. You see the picture. They are opened into the sarcolemma to communicate with the plasma. Okay, so T tubules extend through the fiber and have openings at the sarcolemma along communication with the plasma. Then the difference between the skeletal muscle and this cardiac muscle is cardiac fibers have only one T tubule. In the sarcomere of cardiac muscle, only one T tubule. In the skeletal muscles, one sarcomere, two T tubules. So this is the thin filament and thick filament and all the proteins. So before actual going for muscle contraction, you can see here, this is the myosin filament, thick protein, this is the heads of the myosin, okay. And thin filament you can see, this is yellow color, round there they are active protein, and this is green color oval shape, this is troponin, who is the calcium ion bites, and tropomyosin. Well, this is that muscle is relaxed. Okay. The next step you can see how that changes. Second step you can see compare. Here this is the active binding sites. So how this here move and binds. Active binding site. In the full muscle contraction next stage, you can see again I will explain during the next slides how the muscle contraction occurs. Just in the picture I am showing that these proteins how they see. Next active stage. Yes, active. Next active binding site. This is after this you can see like this. This will go here. Then next active this one will come and bind to the myosin head. Okay. Sliding filament. I will explain in the next slides. The muscle contraction theory is called as the sliding filament theory. So it is based on the sliding of this thick filament and thin filament. Based on that, sliding occurs, that is contraction, and sliding this one relaxation. The sliding of filament is produced by the actions of cross bridges. Usually action of cross bridges. So what are cross bridges? Cross bridges are the part of myosin protein that extend out toward actin. So the myosin part, the myosin head, that is cross bridge. So it is the myosin protein that extend outward towards actin. They form arms that terminate in the heads. They form the arms. Cross bridges form the arms and they terminate into the head of the myosin. Okay. Then each myosin head contains ATP binding site. As I said, ATP should bind there. Then the myosin head functions as a myosin ATPase because it contains enzyme myosin ATPase. Same thing, I will explain a diagram. You can see this cross bridges and you see the myosin head. Here the actin binding site. This is actin binding site. Okay? And this is ATP binding site. These are the cross bridges. And this is the myosin head. Cross bridge is myosin head. And you can see here this is actin and this is tropomyosin and this is troponin. So same thing. Here, when the ATP binds, then ATP is converted into ADP and inorganic phosphate that use the energy. So this is the complete picture of that. Power stroke, myosin head, okay, actin binding site and ATP binding site, and ATP as enzyme is there that breaks into ADP and phosphate. So when muscle contracts, what are the changes occurs? Well, before going for muscle contraction, when muscle contracts, and what are the changes occurs? So muscle contracts occurs because of sliding of thin filament over and between thick filament. So muscle contraction, why this occurs? Sliding of thin filament. Thin filament come over the thick filament towards the center. And this leads to shortening the distance from the Z disc to Z disc. Now if we collect the Z disc, two Z discs are there. When sliding occurs, shortening of the distance, Z disc to Z disc. Okay. This is the first change. Second change, A bands that contains actin moves close together but do not shorten. You know that this contains actin and it moves close together but do not shorten. A band. And I band, what happened? Decrease in the length. I band, because of sliding, but distance between the A band and two successive I bands decrease in the length, and there is also shortening of H band. So these are the changes occurs. Shortening of Z disc, A bands do not shorten, I band decrease in the length, and H band shorten. How this occurs? I will explain. First, what happened? Myosin before contraction. Myosin binding site splits ATP into ADP and organic phosphate. Okay? First step. Then ADP and organic phosphate remain bound to the myosin until myosin had attached to actin. There remains. Okay, this one both are bound. Okay, till myosin had attached to the actin. Till that time they bind. The next step is the inorganic phosphate is released, causing power stroke to occur. Power stroke. Each power stroke, this power strokes pulls actin toward the center of the A band. When one power stroke occurs, it pulls actins. Okay? It pulls actin toward the center. Sliding. Sliding. Then after this power stroke, ADP is released. Then ADP is released, and myosin binds to a fresh ATP at the end of power stroke. ADP is released, power stroke occurs, then myosin is ready to bind to a fresh ATP, next ATP. Then when the ADP is released upon binding of another ADP, it causes cross bridge bond to break. Cross bridge, they are found bond, they break when the ADP is released. Okay. Cross bridge are detached, ready to bind again. Cross bridges bond, cross bridges broke, and they are ready for bind to the next thing. Okay. Then what do you mean by the synchronous action? Synchronous action, what do you mean? Synchronous action is the nothing but only 50% of the cross bridges are attached at any given time. If you take one time, not 100%, only 50% of the cross bridges are attached at one time. That is called as synchronous action. Same, I will explain in the diagram. All the steps what I discussed. You see, the first one is the resting fiber. Cross bridges is not attached to actin. Cross bridges not attached to actin. Okay. Now, this is cross bridges ADP. Now, the second step you see, cross bridges bind to actin. Here does not bind. Not bind. First picture not bind. Here cross bridge binds to actin. This is cross bridge. This is cross bridge. This is myosin head. Now they binds to actin. Okay, clear? Now they binds to actin. Okay. Then third, inorganic phosphate is released. This is ADP and ATP. This is ADP and inorganic phosphate. So inorganic phosphate is released, causing conformational change in myosin. You see here some changes occur. It is bent. This is called as power stroke. You see, compare in both the diagram. And this is power stroke. Binding of more than 90 degree. Cross bridge. So this is called as power stroke. Okay. Power stroke causing filament to slide. This filament is slide. Compare here. Slide. Okay. And ADP is released. ADP is released. Okay. The next step, a new ATP binds. Now new ATP comes and you see here. This is for the next step. New ATP comes and binds to the myosin head. Allow me release from actin. As soon as this bind and this is released, this side is released, and it will go sliding movement. It will go forward, so toward the center. Okay, ready to bind the next side, next part of the actin for contraction. Okay, and this is the last step. ATP is hydrolyzed, causing cross bridge to return to its original. Here it is also in this form, not in original form. Now this is here. See, this come back to the original form. Okay, this is the sliding theory of muscle contraction. All the steps very important. If you know this slide is also the remaining 3-4 slides you can skip whatever discussed previously. If you understand this segment, this is sufficient. Then the regulation of muscle contraction. How the muscle contraction is regulated. So regulation of cross bridge attachment to the actin is due to how this regulation of cross bridge attached to the actin. How it regulate? We'll see. This is by two regulatory protein. Both they regulate tropomyosin, troponin. Both are called as regulatory protein. Sometimes they'll ask in the examination what are the regulatory protein. The tropomyosin and troponin. Okay, both TT. So what is the function of this tropomyosin? Lies the grow between the double row of G actin. It regulates the cross bridge attachment, and troponin is attaches to the tropomyosin. It also helps in the regulation of muscle contraction. Then both this tropomyosin, troponin serves as a switch for muscle contraction and relaxation. They like switch. They put the switch on, then AC will on. Like they are switch. They are acting like a switch. What is the function in relaxed muscle? Relaxed muscle, tropomyosin. Okay, blocks the binding site on actin. Block means switch off. Relaxation. Role of this calcium in contraction, you know that I will discuss later. And in relaxation, how calcium help in the muscle relaxation.
They attach from troponin.
Yes. This calcium ions in the sarcoplasm low when tropomyosin blocks the attachment. When tropomyosin blocks the attachment, then calcium in the sarcoplasm is very low during muscle relaxation.
Could you repeat?
Yes, in muscle relaxation, when muscle relax, role of calcium in contraction I will discuss later. Okay. In relaxation, what is the role? When muscle is relaxed, calcium in the sarcoplasm, low when tropomyosin blocks attachment. Low when the tropomyosin block attachment. Because if the concentration of calcium is more, muscle goes for contraction. But here what we want, muscle should be relaxed and prevent the muscle contraction. Low calcium means prevent the muscle contraction. calcium is pumped back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum in the terminal cistern. Terminal cistern is there. It comes back and muscle relaxes. Here the muscle relaxes. Is low and dopamine block the attachment, so prevent muscle contraction. Calcium come back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum in the terminal cistern, and the muscle is relaxed. So this is the role of calcium in relaxation, muscle relaxation. Now we will discuss what do you mean by the excitation contraction coupling. So this is very, very important. Examination point of view also important. Concentrate. What do you mean by the excitation contraction coupling? Excitation we have discussed in the last class. When a action potential comes on the nerve, then sequence of events changing place in the neuromuscular junction, leading to producing end plate potential. When the end plate potential summed up 2, 3, 5, 4, 6, it comes to the firing level. When the firing level reaches, then action potential of the muscle out. These things we have discussed in the last class. So that is one part, that is called as excitation. Now we will discuss the contraction. So excitation, contraction, coupling. Excitation, contraction, coupling. I will show you.
The action potential is the firing level.
Yes. No, that is action potential different. That is action potential on the nerve first. That calcium channel open, calcium enters, acetylcholine release, acetylcholine bind. Okay, sodium channel open, sodium enters. When sodium enters, it leads to producing end plate potential. Very small potential, end plate potential. End plate potential summed up 4, 5, 6. That end plate potential reaches the firing level. When it reaches the firing level, when the threshold, stimulation of the threshold is sufficient, then that produces action potential of the muscle.
Yeah, I mean the action potential
Muscle, yes.
allow the oxygen to
Yes, sodium again sodium gets sodium will open, sodium enters, depolarization, all the phases same. Yes. Huh?
calcium is related.
No, after that calcium is this.
Doctor, excitation in nerve and contraction muscle.
Yes.
What means that?
Excitation, contraction, yes, nerve, neuromuscular junction and muscle. All together called as excitation, contraction, coupling. Because first nerve should be stimulated. When nerve is stimulated, then muscle will contract. Okay. Same thing here. You can see axon terminal. Acetylcholine is released. Then acetylcholine binds. This is the receptors. Nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. This is skeletal muscle voltage gated sodium channel. So sodium diffusion produces end plate potential. We have discussed till that last class. Okay? That is depolarization occurs when the threshold is more. Positive ions attract to negative plasma membrane. Okay? If depolarization sufficient, threshold occurs producing action potential. As I said, when it reaches the firing level, then it produces the action potential. You can see here in this picture, skeletal muscle voltage gated sodium channel. Okay. Number 3, this is transverse tubules, T tubules. Okay. Transverse tubules voltage gated calcium channel. Here calcium channels are there in the transverse tubule. Don't confuse with that calcium in the nerve. Yeah. Then the sarcoplasmic reticulum, this is S. Calcium release channels. Here the calcium release channel, calcium is released. Calcium is released. Now the next step, action potential travels down sarcolemma. Action potential travels the sarcolemma and T tubules. Sarcoplasmic reticulum terminal cister. Sarcoplasmic reticulum terminal cister releases the calcium, okay, from chemical release channels. So from the sarcoplasmic reticulum some channels are there that are called as chemical channels. So when the action potential comes in the T tubules, calcium is released from that channels. Okay. Then afterwards what happens, when initially small amount of calcium is released, The next step is, this is the electromechanical release mechanism. The next step is, calcium is also released through a calcium-induced calcium release. When the calcium concentration slightly increases, then it stimulates other channels also open, and again more calcium is released.
So why you call it
Which one?
chemical channel?
Chemical channel initial step. Initial step to initiate or release of calcium. Initially some calcium is released. Then that calcium again stimulate release of more calcium. The first calcium stimulate release of other more calcium. That is called as calcium induced calcium release. But initially to release a calcium, action potential is important for TTP. And after that the more calcium is released.
Doctor, what's the substance is binding? What's the substance binding to the chemical channel?
Still couldn't.
Here,
Yes, second one.
some calcium induced means does not bind anything, but calcium is released. No, that calcium stimulate to open other channels.
Yeah, no, after entering that.
Yes, after entering.
Enter that TTB.
So first action potential is on the T tubules, then chemical channels open.
Yeah, what's the substance one?
No, does not. This only does not bind anything. Just it releases the calcium. It releases the calcium. It is not necessary to bind every time. Just any chemical chain also releases the calcium. Okay. The next step is, you can see here, calcium attached to the troponin. This is the relaxed muscle. Relaxed muscle. This is contracting muscle. Okay. Calcium is attached to the. This is calcium attached to the troponin C. Troponin. Tropomyosin troponin complex configuration change occur. This is tropomyosin, troponin, and calcium bind. Tropomyosin troponin component configuration changes occur. So changes occur. Then that leads to, I have discussed already this power stroke. This binds ADP and ATP. Cross bridges attached to the actin. This cross bridge attached to the actin. Conformation changes occur and calcium binds, and then it leads to this cross bridging action. It's attached to the actin. This is actin. Okay. So this is the excitation contraction coupling. So same thing I will explain in this diagram. In brief steps, action potential causes, first step is vesicle to release acetylcholine. Then muscle action potential travels down the T tubules. Muscle action potential. Then sarcoplasmic reticulum releases calcium into the sarcoplasm. Third step. Calcium binds to troponin. Fourth.
Remove the troponin.
Yes.
Remove the troponin.
Then myosin heads bind to actin. When calcium bind, as shown in the picture, so ATP is split into ATP. Then ATP binds to myosin head, releases from actin. Okay. Then ATP binds to myosin head, releases from the actin. Then cross bridge action continues while calcium is present. When calcium is present, cross bridge acting this continues. This cross bridges. This continues. Then when action potential stops, suppose then when a contraction occurs, then action potential stops. Calcium come back to sarcoplasm. Come back. Then the last step what happened? Tropomyosin covers the active sites. Relaxation. So this is called as excitation contraction coupling, and this is very important. Okay? All the steps of excitation contraction coupling. Okay? It is important. What do you want? Important. Examination point of view is
No,
important.
if I read this slide, the reference slides.
Yes. If you understand in this last slide also, this is sufficient. If you remember this one also, that I explained in detail in that diagram, because you should know the mechanism. Sometimes the diagram you can explain in your views. This is same I summarizing here in one. In this step, it is difficult to read. That's why steps are showing here. You can compare with our diagram here in the one page, one slide. All excitation, contraction, coupling is there. Then muscle relaxation. So what are the things important for muscle relaxation? A muscle has to relax. So what are the things should occur?
ATP bind to the muscle.
Yes. First is the action potential. First main thing is action potential must cease.
Stop.
Should cease. Then only relaxation occurs. Then second is acetylcholine esterase degrades acetylcholine, because if the acetylcholine is remain, then again will bind, causing contraction. This is the second step. And third is calcium release channels close. This should be there, because if more calcium is there, then again go for muscular contraction. So calcium release channels should be closed. Then calcium should pump back into sarcoplasmic reticulum through calcium ATPase pump, through the pumps. Okay. Then again the choline, when the acetylcholine is degraded into acetylcholine, choline is recycled to make more acetylcholine. Again choline is goes and synthesizes choline, and acetylcholine is stored in the vesicle. So these are the steps for relaxation. This should be there for relaxation. And this is the next objective is the metabolism in the skeletal muscle. So this is just some of the points I have covered in this. In the skeletal muscle, the skeletal muscles respire anaerobically first 40 to 90 minutes. Okay? Anaerobically, without oxygen for first 45 to 90 minutes of moderate to heavy exercise. Okay? So here cardiopulmonary system requires this amount for time to increase oxygen supply to exercising muscle. So why we are taking this means respires anaerobically means the cardiopulmonary system requires this amount of time to increase oxygen supply after muscular contraction. If exercise is moderate exercise, just jogging, simple jogging is the moderate exercise. Aerobic respiration contributes the majority of skeletal muscle requirements are following. First 2 minutes. So first 2 minutes aerobic respiration in the moderate exercise.
So doctor, in heavy exercise, skeletal muscle use anaerobic to produce.
First initially 45 to 90 minutes anaerobically.
Heavy exercise. In heavy exercise, the skeletal muscle will use aerobic to produce oxygen.
Yeah, anaerobic, not aerobic. Anaerobic first. First. Then maximum oxygen uptake, that is called as aerobic capacity. What is it? This is nothing but the maximum rate of oxygen consumption. This is the maximum rate of oxygen consumption, that is VO2 max, determined by the age, gender and size of the muscle. Age, gender and size of the person. Size, the body structure, age and gender. That is called as VO2 max. What is VO2 max? Maximum oxygen uptake, that is aerobic capacity. You can compare the fuel used, jet fuel consumption during exercise. This is first 30 minutes. This is the next 90 to 120 minutes. 0 to 30 minutes and 90 to 120 minutes. Energy expenditure. So this is purple color is muscle glycogen, green is muscle triglyceride, yellow is fatty acid, and this red color is plasma glucose. If you see in the mild exercise 0 to 30 minutes, the more energy expenditure taken by using plasma free fatty acid, maximum amount. some contribution of muscle triglyceride is there and plasma glucose is also there. But in a same person, when person is doing moderate exercise, the same time you can see the maximum expenditure is occurs because of using of this muscle glycogen in moderate and heavy exercise also. You see, moderate and heavy exercise, the more expenditure in first period is by use of muscle glycogen. Muscle glycogen. This is small contribution of other things. And for 90 to 120 minutes of exercise, you can see mild and moderate exercise, more contribution, both the cases in 90 to 120 minutes means 1.5 to 2 hours, only by plasma free fatty acid, some contribution by other this muscle glycogen and plasma glucose in both the cases.
Could you go back to the previous slide?
Yes, right.
Any brief Any brief
Yes. This is what happened. Initially, a person doing heavy exercise or moderate exercise, so first 45 to 90 minutes, muscle does not use oxygen. Okay? Muscle respire anaerobic means without oxygen. Okay? Why they does not use oxygen? Because during this time, the cardiopulmonary system requires this amount of time, 45 to 90 minutes time required for the cardiorespiratory system to increase oxygen supply to the exercising muscle. So that's why in this time,
Minute or second? Minute or second?
seconds initially, not minutes. Minutes may be difficult. Without oxygen, muscle can't survive. Then lactate threshold. What do you mean by lactate threshold? When you do the powerful exercise, then the percentage of maximum oxygen uptake at which there is a significant rise of blood lactate level. If more oxygen consumed and more exercise is done, then there is a significant amount of lactate is there. That is called as lactate threshold. In a healthy individual, significant blood lactate appears at 50 to 70% of the VO2 max. When the significant lactate level increases in healthy individual, when a person consumes the 50 to 70% of the VO2 max, that reaches the maximum threshold of lactate.
Doctor,
Yes.
increasing of lactate cause pain? Increasing of lactate cause
Yes, cause pain is one of the cause for fatigue.
Yes.
And again, another important significance is lactate is a vasodilator. So it increases the blood supply in the skeletal muscle also, and the coronary blood vessels also, in the heart also. Increased blood lactate, it is a vasodilator.
عشان كذا لا ركض.
During light exercise, most energy is derived from aerobic respiration of fatty acid. In light exercise, just walking, so most of the energy, as I explained in the previous slide, aerobic respiration.
So the best exercise to do from 90 to 120 minutes, mild exercise.
Best exercise is just jogging.
Mild exercise.
Mild exercise, walking, light walking. So this during moderate exercise, energy is derived equally from the fatty acid because I was explaining in the slide. During heavy exercise, all the things I have explained in the slide. So liver increases the glycogen, and during exercise, another thing is the GLUT4 carrier protein. When the carrier protein is there, that is called as glucotransporter 4 carrier protein, is moved to the muscle cell plasma membrane. So it supplies more glucose, the carrier protein. Then what is the function of oxygen death? Oxygen death that was withdrawn from the hemoglobin and myoglobin during exercise. Some of the oxygen is withdrawn from the hemoglobin and myoglobin during exercise. That is oxygen death. Why? What is the function of this one? Each extra oxygen required for metabolism tissue warm during exercise. When the tissue warm during exercise, some of the tissues, so they require some of the oxygen for metabolism. So that for that reason, some of the oxygen is removed, withdrawn from the hemoglobin and hemoglobin during exercise. That is called as oxygen death. And this oxygen needed for metabolism of the lactic acid is also produced during anaerobic respiration. During anaerobic respiration, lactic acid is produced. For the metabolism of that lactic acid, this oxygen is also required. So this is oxygen death. What is the function of oxygen death? This is for metabolism, tissue warmed during exercise, and metabolism of the lactic acid produced during anaerobic respiration. When a person stops exercising, rate of oxygen uptake does not immediately return. When person is immediately stop this exercise, so the rate of oxygen uptake does not immediately return. No? Slowly it will return. Slowly it will return. This is the function of creatine phosphate in the muscle. Initially this phosphocreatine is formed and ATP is there. This is during rest. During contraction, what happens? Phosphate is converted into ADP into this inorganic phosphate, use energy, and creatine is formed. This is during exercise. And this is during rest. So what is the function of this one? This is a rapid source of renewal of ATP. Rapid source of renewal of ATP. And ADP combines with creatine phosphate. ADP combines with creatine phosphate. And this phosphocreatine is 3 times ATP. It used more 3 times as ATP. This is 1 creatine phosphate, 3 ATP. So it is a ready source of high energy phosphate. Whenever it is required, it is a ready source for high energy phosphate. Whenever energy is required. Okay. Now the last part, it is not in your objective, but just as a point of interest. What is the difference between the contraction of the skeletal muscle and the cardiac muscle and smooth muscle? Not for exemption point of view, but you should know. What are the differences? In cardiac muscle, it contains actin and myosin arranged in sarcomere. Both are arranged in sarcomere. And they contract via sliding mechanism. Same mechanism is there, sliding mechanism. Adjacent myocardial cells joined by the gap junction. These are the gap junction. So adjacent myocardial cells they joined by the gap junction in the cardiac muscle. Then action potential is spread through the cardiac muscle in gap junction. In the cardiac muscle, action potential is spread from one junction to next junction, one junction to next junction, like this. Gap junction to gap junction. It behaves as one unit. Then all cells contribute to contraction. One stimulation occurs, all cells contribute to contraction, not a single cell. So now the differences between the smooth muscle and the skeletal muscles. You can see here, the most important thing is smooth muscle does not contain sarcomere. Does not contain sarcomere. And contains more content of actin than myosin. In skeletal muscle, more myosin is there, less actin is there. In smooth muscle, more actin than myosin. So the ratio is 16:1. 16:1. Myosin filaments attach at the end of cell bodies to dense bodies. Here, myosin filament attached to dense bodies. Dense bodies. And contains the gap junction. It depends on the rise in the free intercellular calcium. Contraction is depend on rise in free intercellular calcium. And calcium binds to another protein called modulin. In skeletal muscle, troponin. calcium colloidal complex joined with and activates myosin light chain kinase. Myosin heads are phosphorylated. Okay, myosin heads bind with actin, and this is contraction. Relaxation occurs when the calcium concentration decreases. Okay, there are some differences. Okay, not the examination point of view. Understood? Okay, clear?
Yeah.
Only some difference. Same.